Welcome to the Tricentis Tosca Best Practice video series. Best practices are not rules, but guidelines to help you learn from years of experience without having to learn everything the hard way yourself. This video is about building requirements and how best to go about it. The point of requirements is to help prioritize testing. We use a risk-based approach so that the first tests we build can be ones that cover the most risk. Just like everywhere else in our repository, we want to have clarity so that we can easily see and understand our risk position. First, we should have a requirement set for each application or interface. This requirement set will contain all the requirements for that application. In the requirement set, we can now build our requirements. Requirements can be functional or performance or security related. They can also be based on your user stories, or you can directly import them if you have Tosca Connect. Add a nested level for requirements that are more detailed parts of a certain requirement. For example here, checkout is a requirement. If our users can't check out, our store will probably fail. The different types of checkout are nested requirements, which each represent a part of the risk. It's also a good idea to keep your backlog of features in a separate requirement set. That way, the risk from those features, which is not relevant yet, doesn't appear in your working set. When you are ready, the requirements are easily moved. Now we have our requirements defined, we should identify the risks associated with each one. Remember that each requirement's risk is only relative to the risk of its siblings on the same level. There are two questions to ask. How often do users do this, which is our frequency class? We recommend entering a number from 1 to 5 to define the frequency class. In this case, for example, get products is the most used by our users, followed by checkout. The second question is, how bad is it if this fails? And that's our damage class. We use the same scale of 1 to 5 for damage class as we do for frequency. Defining risk in Tosca is simple. Deciding what the risk really is can be challenging and is usually done with input from the business side of the organization and other project stakeholders. Long meetings are quite normal here. When we're done with the top level, we can expand one requirement and assess the risk in its sub-requirements. Again, these are only relative to each other, not to anything else. Once we have our risk ratings defined, Tosca shows each requirement's contribution to the total risk so that we can correctly prioritize our testing efforts. Later, we will link our test cases and executions, and Tosca will report our risk coverage, which is a much more useful measure of quality than the number of test cases passed and failed. I think that's enough for now. Thank you.